Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Fusion Deck User in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 81, In the Universe. This robot looks pretty cool, huh? Those lines, those gears, that chain, awesome. Oh, Cyber Dragon? Nice design, nice design. Once I get resurrected, I want to make one too. Hey, human, you could have fusion summoned Labyrinth Tank just now, right? Why'd you summon some winged guy instead? Looks way too energetic. Selena held her card in hand, blinking rapidly as she stared blankly at the green-haired spirit floating beside her teacher. She seemed completely lost on what to do. What's wrong, Selena? It's your turn, Bastion, acting as referee, asked curiously. I special summon Cyber Dragon? Snapping back to herself at Bastion's voice, Selena revealed the Cyber Dragon in her hand and placed it on the table, then sent the machine monsters on Hikaru's and her own field to the graveyard. From the shared extra deck zone, from Hikaru's card collection, she summoned Chimeratech Fortress Dragon to the field. Ooh! That design is sweet. The female spirit beside Hikaru nodded repeatedly. Should have gone with something like that for the Shad dolls. Well done, Bastion continued explaining without skipping a beat. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon not only clears the field, but it also gains 2000 ATK. While it still can't defeat Flame Wingman, at least it takes care of Ancient Gear Golem. Ah, I see. So it was to avoid Fortress Dragon that he fused into Flame Wingman? Tiara suddenly understood. Oh, got it now, got it, but that big robot still looks cooler. The corner of Hikaru's mouth twitched as he ignored her and flipped over the trap card on his table. That's one lively spirit, Jaden said, unusually sentimental. He'd seen winged Kuribo before, so he wasn't too surprised. There's spirits like this out there? Chaz was sweating slightly. His armed dragon and light and darkness dragon were both the silent type, appearing only when necessary, not as talkative as this one. After the routine duel ended, Hikaru went to get a glass of water, then spoke to Tiara nearby. Can't you make it so only I can see you? Or at least leave Winda's body already? Leave? Tiara tilted her head. What are you talking about? This is my body. Question mark. Do you really think an ordinary spirit could enhance your power and let you see spirits? Tiara began explaining. From the moment you created Winda's card, when she tried to transfer her power into the human world through it, that was me behind the scenes. How else could a regular spirit reach your world so quickly? Besides, relax, the consciousness that was in this body was already sent back to the spirit world. I didn't like that chaotic world anyway. As she spoke, her eyes lit up with a sudden thought. Raising a finger, she added, you should be thanking me, actually. Without me, you would have had to duel Winda's spirit, win, and earn her approval to use the card, right? Hikaru was momentarily speechless. The gods really do whatever they want, even if they're not the card's creator, but just born from its existence, they can still exert full control. He wasn't particularly annoyed by Tiara, just a bit embarrassed since Jaden, Selena, and Chaz had all been looking at him weirdly today. Rather than irritated, he was actually kind of pleased, because Tiara apparently could forcibly enhance his spirit compatibility. Though he was currently at 5 stars, he could now see spirits, and according to Tiara, the higher his star rank, the greater her boost up to an 11-star level enhancement, second only to the legendary Duel King. Hikaru splashed his face with water and returned to the activity room, where he saw the newly arrived Zane. As always, he was dressed in his blue uniform, the 7 stars key hanging from his neck, fluttering in the wind like an accessory. Kaiser, weren't you going to another dimension with Alexis today? Hikaru asked. Oh, so this is the Cyber Dragon user, huh? Excellent taste. Tiara called out. Hikaru, already used to the voice of this mech-obsessed spirit, ignored it. Zane, however, visibly paused upon hearing it before smiling. That's right. I made plans with Alexis before the break, and I'm going to Neo Domino City during the vacation. It's relatively safe, just right for Alexis's recovery. Man, that sounds great. I want to check out Neo Domino City too. Jaden sighed, hands behind his head. Why can we only use the Dimension Gate once during break? I'd love to visit either Neo Domino or the Village of Spellcasters. It's to prevent students from excessive transfers and potential accidents, Zane chuckled. Jaden, did your application go through? It did. Just today. Jaden raised a fist with a grin. I got Chas to go with me. Don't make it sound like I'm just some extra, Chas scoffed. If I hadn't written it for you, you'd still be waiting. During the break, each dorm was allowed one interdimensional transfer. Of course, only the Academy's top students could apply or, like Zane, get automatic approval. That's why Jaden said he and Hikaru couldn't go to the same place. After all, there was only one chance. Jaden didn't want to miss finding his friends, and he didn't want Hikaru to waste his opportunity. So, who are you going with, Master? Selena's eyes lit up. Could it be? Selena, did you check your physical assessment report? Hikaru cut in. And you're not even a student in the Academy's high school division. I'm going with Bastion. His application got approved too, and he didn't know where to go. Ugh, Bastion? Selena frowned, visibly disappointed. You're being kinda rude, you know? Bastion said, sweating with frustration. I am second in the RA Yellow dorm, after all. Ah, come on, you're still awesome, Bastion. Hikaru clapped his back, laughing. Doesn't matter if you can't hear spirits. Yeah, go for it, Bastion. I'll pray for your safety, Bastion. Jaden and Chas' words struck a chord in Bastion. So what if my spirit compatibility is low? Who did I ever offend? I've been to another dimension too. Amid the banter, the day ended. Zane packed up his stuff, organized his deck, and arrived at Obelisk Blue's teleportation zone. Among the 3 dorms, Obelisk Blue had the most money and luxuries. Their teleportation gate was always the latest model, receiving annual support from Kaiba Corp. Even though Alexis had been missing for a year, and they still didn't know what she'd done during that time, she used to be a genius student on par with Zane. She was still very familiar with teleporters. She smiled and waved to her fans, then followed Zane and pressed the gate. At first, nothing happened. But just as the two were about to leave, a strange symbol emerged on the frame of the gate. It was a green circle missing a segment on the outside, with a dot in the center, resembling an Ouroboros that hadn't bitten its tail. What? The two instinctively stiffened. The gate flashed a strange green light and transported both of them to another dimension. Where are we? Zane immediately moved beside Alexis, who instinctively stood back to back with him, alert to the surroundings. This was a dimension they had never seen before. Judging by its appearance, it seemed like a massive factory filled with furnaces and strange equipment. The building had no ceiling. From the open roof above, they could see massive planets floating in the sky, incredibly close. The Sun, Venus, and a third one, with their knowledge, they could roughly tell. They appeared to be in space. What is this place? Zane, look out! Just as confusion set in, a figure emerged from the factory. Cloaked, bandaged, masked, with eyes glowing red. He squinted, then slowly raised an emblematic object. A book with a golden eyeball embedded in it. I am the 7th of the Shadow Riders, Amel. His voice was haunting and ethereal, making both Obelisk Blue elites frown. He's targeting you, Alexis. Zane immediately grasped the situation. They hadn't encountered a new Shadow Rider in nearly 2 months, so Zane had relaxed a little. But the masked man's arrival instantly put him on edge. Sorry, Alexis. Looks like I dragged you into this. Don't say it like that. Alexis laughed, shrugged, and raised her dual disc. Honestly, dueling regular enemies isn't much fun. Don't underestimate me. Hey, Shadow Rider, I'll be your opponent. Doesn't matter, the masked man replied, unmoved. Either one of you. Or both, if you wish. Alexis and Zane's faces both darkened. 1-on-1 or 2-on-2, that's the code of duelists. Zane barked. A handicap duel? Don't insult us, you shadow duelist. Alexis charged forward unhesitantly, slotting her deck into the duel disc. Let me duel you. Zane, just watch for now. Got it. Chapter 82, The Head of the Shadow Riders. A powerful surge of electricity came crashing down, blasting a mighty dragon into pieces. Red Ice Black Dragon. No way. Alexis. Looks like I lost. Zane, be careful, his cards. Before she could finish, Alexis lost consciousness. Her body was enveloped in light, and with a forceful surge, she was flung into space, swallowed into the heart of a star. Seeing this unfold, Zane clenched his fists and strode forward. His expression turned grim as he activated his duel disc. Ha. Some time later. Zane, too, was absorbed into a star. Days later. Professor Banner is missing. Hikaru asked in shock. Yeah. Jaden frowned, troubled. I thought he was just busy with something, but it's been over a week and I haven't seen him. And with him gone from the kitchen, no one's giving me natto anymore. Jaden continued, frustrated. Also, Professor Growler's been missing too these past few days. What gives? Some kind of faculty exchange program or something? Hikaru, you're usually pretty close to Professor Growler. Do you know anything? Hikaru shook his head. He was indeed familiar with the professor, but that didn't mean he met with him every day. As nice as Growler was, he was still a middle-aged working man with responsibilities. But if Banner had gone missing, he had a general idea of what that could mean. Most likely, Professor Banner was about to go all in. The Shadow Riders, huh? Jaden, this might sound strange, Hikaru decided to speak up, but you need to remember, one of the Shadow Riders hasn't appeared yet. You mean Professor Banner was captured by a Shadow Rider? Jaden's face darkened. Damn it. I mean, it's possible that Professor Banner is one of the Shadow Riders. No way, absolutely not. Chumley immediately shook his head. Professor Banner is such a timid guy. How could he be a Shadow Rider? Back when that vampire showed up at the academy, he spent ages hiding in his room praying to Buddha. Jaden, I'm just saying, be prepared. Hikaru hesitated briefly, then gave a firm nod. He rubbed his temples and took a deep breath. Today was the day to search for an old friend. No time to get too down. As he saw Jaden calling over Chaz to prepare for teleportation, the usually lively fusion club grew a bit quiet, while Hikaru sank into thought. If Professor Banner had vanished, then no doubt he had returned to his true self, ready to fulfill his agreement with Chairman Kajimaro and duel them as one of the Shadow Riders. In canon, Banner was the leader of the Shadow Riders and the strongest among them. He defeated every remaining key holder except Jaden all at once, and when facing Jaden, he revealed his true form, hoping to witness his growth. This version of Banner was just as strong, maybe stronger, than the original. But then again, this world's Jaden was also more powerful, with elemental hero Captain Gold and Evane as two additional spirits. He was clearly stronger than his original counterpart. With Jaden's skills, he should still be able to win, even if Banner's deck got a power boost. If everyone's stronger, it balances out the win/loss dynamic shouldn't change. Today, Hikaru was heading to the village of spellcasters, and he wondered if he might run into a wild dark magician. Compared to the absurdly rare dark magician girl, dark magician was actually more common in this world. With some luck, he just might encounter one there. Yo, Umi, here early today? It's Bastion said, then straightened up and said to Hikaru, last semester, I wasn't focused enough, so you and Chaz beat me out. But don't get complacent. Heh, Bastion, you're pretty confident, huh? Just don't cross the line into arrogance. As they bantered, Hikaru slotted the coordinates card for Dark Magician Girl into the Dimension Gate. He casually asked, "Is there any particular spirit you want to find?" "Actually, there is. If possible, I want to find the spirit of a mathematician." He flipped through his deck and showed a card to Hikaru. Seeing the long-bearded old man who once dominated the meta, Hikaru raised an eyebrow. "Ah, mathematician plus dandelion FTK combo, huh? Good thing there's no link summoning in this world. Otherwise, Misawa might go off the rails." Joking around, they stood before the gate under the teacher's guidance. Just as they were about to teleport, Tiara suddenly jumped in and pointed at the machine. "Hey, human, someone tampered with this machine." "Wait. Don't teleport yet," Hikaru shouted. The teacher froze but didn't press the button. Hikaru inspected the machine and noticed a strange green symbol glowing on it. He recognized it at a glance, an alchemical symbol. "Alright, it's fine now. Please proceed." Having confirmed it, Hikaru felt less tense. What he feared was some unknown meddler. As he was thinking this, the Dimension Gate's light enveloped them. Bathed in emerald light, the two regained awareness inside a massive workshop. Above them, countless enormous planets floated in the sky, while bizarre contraptions filled the area. "Where are we? This doesn't look like a spellcaster-type place," Bastion muttered instinctively. The next second, his attention was stolen by the scene before them. Directly ahead, Professor Banner, cloaked in strange garb and wrapped in bandages, pointed coldly at Jaden, who was kneeling. "It's over, Jaden. Attack him directly." "Well done, Jaden. Forcing me to reveal my true identity, you've grown splendidly." "Ah. Jaden." Hikaru and Bastion shouted together. Hikaru was stunned by the scene. What the hell? The protagonist lost. Lost to the mid-boss from the original story. Jaden. He heard other students shouting. Looking up, he saw the approaching planets turn transparent. Inside each one were students and teachers pounding on the edges, trying to escape and help. Professor Growler, Alexis, Atticus, Chaz, Zane. Even Cyrus and Chumley were trapped in one, yelling for Jaden. Jaden's body was wrapped in light and drawn into the sun, where he lost consciousness. Bastion instinctively took a step back before forcing himself to stay calm. He frantically pulled out his deck. Hikaru, I'll. Seeing his friend flustered, Hikaru stepped forward, blocking him with his arm. Misawa, let me handle this. Oh. So you choose to stand and face me instead of fleeing after seeing a powerful classmate fall? Banner narrowed his eyes with a grin. Then you must have realized it too, right? I am, the final Shadow Rider. Amel of the Shadow Riders. Hikaru took a deep breath and nodded solemnly. Then there's nothing more to say. Hikaru, let's see whether you fall here, or keep moving forward. Duel. X2. Amel, LP, 4000. Hikaru, LP, 4000. Chapter 83, Higher Alchemy. Hikaru, be careful. His dueling goes beyond anything we've imagined. Zane warned as Hikaru began his duel against Professor Banner without hesitation. Hikaru gave a small nod. On the other side, Jaden slowly regained consciousness, holding his arm as he leaned weakly against a planet. Hikaru, cough, sorry. Jaden, get some rest. Don't overexert yourself. Hikaru kept his eyes on Banner, his heart filled with confusion. This makes no sense. How could Jaden have lost? Did I jinx him with too many flags? What's the matter? Aren't you going to start your turn? Banner looked utterly calm. Hikaru furrowed his brow, glanced at his hand, and drew a card from his deck. My turn, draw. He immediately revealed a card. I activate the continuous spell, Future Fusion. I reveal Labyrinth Tank and send Cannon Soldier from my deck to the graveyard. Then I activate another continuous spell, Flame Swords Realm. I discard Ancient Gear Knight from my hand to activate Flame Swords Realm's effect, Special Summon Flame Swordsman. Flame Swordsman, Level 5 FIRA Warrior 1800 ATK. Next, I set one card and end my turn. Banner watched Hikaru's plays, then chuckled lightly, pinching a fragment from his own cheek and crushing it. He spoke, "Hikaru, you don't seem surprised at all by my appearance, do you?" Hikaru couldn't exactly say he was a transmigrator, so he simply nodded. "I had my suspicions for a while. Your alchemy has always been too real, but your usual demeanor was too meek. So that's how you figured it out?" Banner nodded with a grin. As expected of the Academy's top alchemical prodigy. "Why, Professor Banner?" Chumley slammed against the barrier of a star, shouting. "Why did you become a shadow rider? Why did you hurt Jaden?" "Ha, ha." Banner chuckled softly, his eyes glowing crimson. "I didn't become one, I founded the Shadow Riders from the very beginning." "Ah." Atticus suddenly recalled, "It was you. You're the one who made me lose my memory." "Exactly." Banner sneered as he drew a card. "Now, my turn, draw." He glanced at his hand, his smile widening. He looked at Hikaru and revealed one of his cards. "Hikaru, let me show you a secret beyond conventional alchemy. Normal summon Alistair the Invoker." "Oh crap." Hikaru's eyes went wide. No wonder Jaden lost. He's calling this alchemy too. With a swirl of wind, a robed mage wielding a staff and a magic tome appeared on the field. "Alistair the Invoker, level 4 DARK spellcaster 1000 ATK. After his summons, Banner coughed lightly. Alistair turned to glance at him, and the two nodded in mutual acknowledgement. "Only 1000 ATK? Bastion relaxed slightly but then furrowed his brow. "That card's not known on the market. Watch out, Hikaru. That monster's insanely strong." The sealed students began shouting. Cold sweat formed on Hikaru's brow. Like, he didn't already know how dangerous that card was? "Alistair's monster effect. When this card is normal or flip summoned, I can add invocation from my deck to my hand." "It's coming, human." Tiara manifested beside Hikaru with a mischievous look. "I activate the spell card, Invocation." Banner revealed the card in his hand. "It's a fusion spell that lets me fusion summon using monsters from my hand. But when summoning an invoked fusion monster, I can banish monsters from my field and either the graveyard as fusion materials. I banish Alistair from my field and Ancient Gear Knight from your graveyard. Fusion summon. Behold, the earth-invoked monster, invoked Magellanica." A giant clad in summoning glyphs emerged from the earth, locking eyes with Hikaru. "Invoked Magellanica, level 8 Earth Rock 3000 ATK. W what?" Bastion gaped in shock. "Wait, I activate my set card." Hikaru didn't hesitate as he flipped his trap. Trap card, Flame Swords Dance. "Flame Swords Dance, Banner chuckled. "It's been a while since you used those cards. You should know what it does, Professor." "Ah, yes, special summon Dark Flare Knight and set my monster, right? Go ahead." Even sealed, the surrounding students and teachers could hear the unshakable confidence in Banner's tone and aura of invincibility. Hikaru gritted his teeth. "I special summon Dark Flare Knight to set your invoked Magellanica. Dark Flare Knight, level 60 RK Warrior 2200 ATK." Banner casually allowed his monster to be hidden. "Not bad defensively. But my turn isn't over. I activate the effective invocation in the graveyard, return it to the deck to add a banished Alistair the Invoker to my hand." W what?" Bastion nearly shouted. "He can summon an invoked monster every turn like this. Alistair is a monster powerful enough to redefine fusion summoning." Banner glanced at the Alistair spirit beside him. The spirit looked at Hikaru and spoke. "Banner, as agreed, this will be the last time I help you." "That's fine." Banner nodded casually. "After all, I'll be dead soon anyway." Then, in a louder voice, he declared, "I end my turn." He actually ended his turn? Cyrus, clutching his knees, trembled. So confident, so scary. That monster explains it. Alexis exclaimed in fear. 3300 DEF, and summoned using light-devouring materials. Zane's expression turned grim. Even superalloy beast Raptinus or ultimate ancient Geargolem would struggle against that. Hikaru took a deep breath. In the original, Banner was already a formidable foe, but here, he skipped alchemy entirely and went full invoker. He had to find a way to limit Alistair. Or perhaps, an idea suddenly lit up in Hikaru's mind. He thought of a strategy that just might work. Chapter 84, What We Saw in Another Dimension. Alright, draw. My turn. He glanced at his hand and murmured, "Lucky draw," before placing the card into his dual disc. Field spell card, Fusion Recycling Plant. I discard one card from my hand to add one polymerization from my deck to my hand. I discard Metalfoes Fusion and add Fusion Substitute to my hand. Then, I activate Metalfoes Fusion's effect, return it to the deck, and draw one card. Hikaru drew, looked at the card, then stared at his opponent. An Earth Attribute invoked monster with 3300 DEF. But, Professor Banner still had an Alistair in hand, which could boost a fusion monster's ATK in def by 1000 by discarding itself. In other words, even if Hikaru used Future Fusion to summon Labyrinth Tank, he still wouldn't be able to break through it using Flame Sword's Realm. Still, he had no choice but to try. He thought hard. What was his biggest advantage against Banner? Half-baked alchemy? Too many fusion cards? No. It was that he knew Banner, and he knew what Banner's cards could do. And Banner didn't know that he knew. I activate Future Fusion's effect. I send Gigatech Wolf to the graveyard, then banish the fusion materials from the graveyard, fusion summon Labyrinth Tank. Labyrinth Tank, level 70 ARK Machine 2400 ATK. Battle. Yes. Chaz cheered, slamming the star shell. Flame Sword's Realm reduces the ATK of warrior monsters while raising others by 1000. Labyrinth Tank goes to 3400 ATK. That beats the invoked monster. If the hit goes through, that's 3200 and 800 damage, Banner would be done for. Bastion followed. No. It won't go through. Zane's face darkened. Damn, Hikaru fell for it. Reduce Flame Swordsman's ATK by 1000, increase Labyrinth Tank's ATK by 1000. Flame Swordsman, ATK, 1800 800, Dark Flare Knight, ATK, 2200 3200, Labyrinth Tank, ATK, 2400 3400. The giant rock-invoked monster began to shift, its massive form about to be pierced by the tank. Too naive, Hikaru. Banner roared. I activate the effect of Alistair the Invoker from my hand. Discard it to target a fusion monster I control. That monster gains 1000 ATK/def until the end of the turn. This effect can be used during either player's turn. Invoked Makaba, def, 3300 4300. What? Bastion gasped. This is bad, Hikaru. Ugh, Hikaru was knocked back by the ricochet, landing hard. Tiara reached out and helped him stay upright. You okay, human? Thanks, Hikaru winced, clutching his abdomen. Hikaru, LP, 4000 3100. TCH. Hikaru gritted his teeth. I set one card, switch my other monsters to defense position. End turn. Is that all you can do? Banner said with a disappointed shake of his head. Professor Banner. Jaden shouted from his transparent star prison, why can't I understand why you're doing this? He looked genuinely distraught. Hikaru glanced at him, then paused and realized something. So that's it. Because of Hikaru's existence in this world, the duels with the Shadow Riders hadn't led to any deaths or severe injuries. As it was in canon, Growler and Zane went down early, putting huge pressure on Jaden. In that world, Jaden's first reaction to Banner's betrayal was anger, then confusion. But here, he hadn't suffered the same pain, so he was just confused. Jaden, Banner said softly, shaking his head, I once traveled the world as an alchemist. He didn't seem bothered about revealing his past, in fact, he looked eager to tell it. I studied alchemy, dreaming of creating the Philosopher's Stone. I traveled the globe, searching ancient ruins, seeking possibilities. Like Pegasus himself, in the end, my research turned to dual monsters. That's when I discovered the legendary cards of the sacred beasts. His crimson eyes stared at the book in his right hand. Professor Banner discovered the sacred beasts. Mamma mia, I never heard about this. Banner gently flipped open the book, revealing a wealth of knowledge. Someone heard of my research and funded me, offering me a role in Kybercorp's Dimension Gate project. I stepped onto the path of interdimensional alchemy, he said, looking at Alistair. At first, I visited simple spirit worlds, but eventually, I reached grand gatherings of spirits. The Golden Land, Village of Spellcasters, Spell Academy, Skyscraper, Vampire Kingdom, Realm of Chaos, Sky Sanctuary, and more. I explored alchemy across these realms, and gained quite a reputation. No way. Hikaru blurted in awe. Is he really? Yes, I'm the one the spirits call the peerless alchemist. He pointed at the sealed students. I created the true Philosopher's Stone. I saved the Berserk Summoning Master, awakened the maddened Golden Lord, and accomplished countless feats. But with all this, I discovered something, a terrifying force that threatens to fracture the spirit world, and a future full of infinite peril. What? The students were shocked. Humanity isn't ready for interdimensional contact. Too many are lured by spirit power, and the world is evolving too fast. Banner clenched his fists. This world is developing faster than it should, drawing in spirits and making it ever more fragile. Even you, Atticus, Zane, and Jaden, against monsters from beyond this world, even the best will fall. What about the others? Are they prepared for such contact? And fools like Leo Akaba, who seek to exploit other dimensions, are everywhere. Worse still, humanity's reckless exploration has caught the attention of evil beings from other realms. I once wanted to keep researching. But a life prolonged by alchemy has limits. He tapped his face, pieces of it crumbling off. Seems this world no longer allows me to live as a human. All I've learned about alchemy, and the spirit worlds I've visited, I've recorded in this recompiled emerald book. Hikaru, if you defeat me, it will be yours. But alas, it seems you may not be up to the task. Hikaru's expression turned serious. If he's saying that much, he's truly going all out today. Way more serious than in the original. My turn, draw. Normal summon a second Alistair. Yes. Hikaru silently cheered, keeping a stern face. Same as last turn, I add invocation to my hand. Then, I discard Aqua Spirit and banish Alistair from the field, fusion summon, invoked Cocytus. A blue and white dragon tethered to summoning glyphs soared down from the heavens. Invoked Cocytus, level 6 water dragon 1800 ATK/2900 def. Defense position? Shaz said in confusion. This monster can attack while in defense position, Banner smiled, returning invocation to the deck and adding Alistair from the banishment zone to his hand. Damn! 2900 DEF, now it's even worse. It can attack and defend. This is invoked. I switch invoked Magellanica to attack position. Battle! Destroy his 2 knights. Banner waved casually. Forgive me, my lord. Thanks for your efforts, both of you. Always running into powerhouses and still never complaining, Hikaru felt a little bad for his monsters. I set 1 card. Your turn, Hikaru. Hikaru wiped sweat from his brow. Dueling invoked under these conditions was no joke. Good thing he had a backup plan. My turn, draw. Hikaru looked at the card, steeled his eyes, and stared back at Banner. Professor, your concerns aren't unfounded. But don't underestimate your students. Oh? Banner replied calmly. I pay 2,000 life points. Hikaru gritted his teeth as he felt energy drain rapidly from his body. The watching students gasped at his desperate move. Hikaru, LP, 3,100. I activate Lullaby of Obedience. Lullaby of Obedience. Banner reacted with sudden shock. Don't tell me. That's right, Professor Banner. I declare, Alistair the Invoker. Chapter 85, Final Gambit in Desperation. So it really is Lullaby of Obedience? Banner chuckled and shook his head. When you dueled a member of the Polymerization Club, you said that using your opponent's monsters for fusion was also fusion. I was quite pleased by that. That's the true essence of alchemy. Still, this card's not of much use to you, is it? Banner tossed the card to Hikaru, allowing him to hold it. Right. Hikaru's extra deck shouldn't have any invoked monsters, Alexis said, frowning as she gave her take. No, this is a brilliant move, Chaz interrupted, shaking his head. That summoner's power is impressive, but no matter how strong a monster card is, no card can be included more than 3 times in a deck. That's a fundamental rule of dueling. Exactly. If we can limit Alistair from appearing, the invoked monsters will be hard to summon as well. Phew, nice one, Hikaru, Zane breathed a sigh of relief. More importantly, Atticus added excitedly. If Hikaru has Alistair in hand, he can use that effect to boost attack too. Hikaru didn't explain his plan. If he wanted to win, he had to carry out the strategy in his head, and until then, no one could know what his goal was. I activate my Field Spells effect, discard Fusion Substitute to add another Fusion Substitute from my deck to my hand. Then I activate Fusion Substitute in the graveyard, return Flame Swordsman to the extra deck, draw 1 card. He drew and immediately revealed his next play. I activate the effect of Thunder Dragon in my hand. Add the remaining 2 from my deck to my hand. Then I send 1 Thunder Dragon to the graveyard to activate Flame Swordsrealm's effect, special summon Flame Swordsman. Flame Swordsman, level 5 FIRA Warrior 1800 ATK. Wahoo! This time I won't let you down, my lord. Flame Swordsman cheered again. Everyone who could see the scene went silent for a moment. I activate the spell card, Thunder Dragon Fusion. Hikaru revealed the card. It lets me return monsters from the field, graveyard, or banished zone to the deck to fusion summon a thunder monster. Fusion summon Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. Hikaru slammed his palms together, summoning another monster once again. Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, level 8 Light Thunder 2800 ATK. Good. Now, Invocation can't access my graveyard monsters anymore. 2800, still not enough. But there's still Flame Swords Realm. Battle. Hikaru took a deep breath. His plan was nearly complete, and now, it all depended on Banner's reaction. Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, attack invoked Cocytus. Activate Flame Swords Realm, lower Flame Swordsman's ATK by 1000, increase others by 1000. Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, ATK, 2800 3800, Labyrinth Tank, ATK, 2400 3400. Banner hesitated briefly but chose not to activate Alistair from his hand. Then, following up. Labyrinth Tank, attack. Hikaru pointed. I discard Alistair. Banner threw the card. Invoked Magellanica, ATK, 3000 4000. Once again, the little tank rammed into the Colossus, this time, greeted by a clean, brutal punch. Hikaru, LP, 1100 500. This is bad. Hikaru's life points keep dropping, and Professor Banner hasn't taken any damage, Alexis swallowed. The situation was truly dire. If Hikaru lost, what would happen to them? Would Banner kill them? Fear flooded her mind with countless dreadful possibilities. Ugh! Hikaru felt like his chest had been pierced. Every breath felt like molten lava flooding his lungs. He gritted his teeth through the pain and sweat. Main Phase 2. No! Even Hikaru is. Even Big Brother already lost, and now. Chumley, Cyrus. Don't give up. Jaden stood up, despite his battered body, and shouted through the pain, if we don't believe in Hikaru now, who else will support him? You can do it, Hikaru. Yeah, let's go, Hikaru. Professor Growler chimed in first. Rallying behind Jaden, the students found renewed spirit and began cheering for Hikaru. You alright, Hikaru? Need a hand? Bastion said. Hikaru shook his head. He could still stand. I set one more card. End turn. Is that your limit, Hikaru? Banner's expression showed slight disappointment. In that case, I suppose I won't need to use this card. His face-down card was the Trap Omega Summon, which could special summon a banished invoked monster. He had planned to use it to restore fusion capacity when he ran out of materials. But if Hikaru could only manage this much, it was unnecessary. My turn. Draw spell card, Monster Reincarnation. I discard Garuda the Wind Spirit to return Alistair from my graveyard to my hand. He glanced at his hand, then declared, Normal summon, Alistair, in defense position. Seeing Alistair return again, the students grew nervous, yet Jaden's cheering kept their spirits alive. Adding invocation to my hand, I activate. Now. I activate my trap card, Counter Trap Paradox Fusion. Hikaru coughed but raised his hand. I banish one face-up fusion monster until the end of the second turn after activation on my field, to negate and destroy a spell or trap activation. I banish Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. A rare counter trap from you, and perfectly timed to stop invocation. You even waited until I had just one copy left. Banner smiled, still unfazed. He glanced at Flame Swordsman, then at Hikaru's face-down card. That face-down must be Salamandra with Chain, right? Banner mused aloud. Otherwise, you would have banished Flame Swordsman instead of Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. Hikaru flinched. Seems I was right. Getting his set card guessed surprised him more than he wanted to admit. Salamandra with Chain boosts a monster's ATK by 700. Alistair can boost by 1000. Attacking carelessly here would be foolish. So, I banished the first Aqua Spirit from my graveyard, special summon it in defense. His hand was filled with spirits of varying attributes, meant to cover different fusion types. Now, with invocation foiled, all he had were the spirits themselves. Aqua Spirit, level 4 Water Aqua 1200 def. End turn. My turn. Draw. Right now, Banner raised a hand, Aqua Spirit's effect activates. I force your Flame Swordsman into defense, and it can't change position this turn. Flame Swordsman, ATK DF 1600 def. Hikaru panted, clutching his cards, sweat pouring, friends cheering all around. He looked at his card draw and gritted his teeth. Didn't draw the key card? Tiara asked. I still have one more chance to draw. Hikaru eyed Fusion Substitute in his hand. I bite down and draw again. Then why hesitate? Tiara tilted her head. Afraid? Want more of my power? If you die, it might take ages before I find another worthy vessel. These others don't count, you know. You're special. She raised her staff, smiling. My resurrection ritual needs materials. Either you or that guy across the field could do it, but he's unlikely to agree. So? Want my help? Hikaru inhaled deeply. Should he beg a god for help in this moment? You can do it, Hikaru. Jaden cried out. Let's go, Hikaru. Zane shouted, fist raised. I don't need it. Hikaru rose to his feet. This turn decides the duel. Oh? Banner looked intrigued. I activate Fusion Recycling Plant. Discard Fusion Substitute to add my final Fusion Substitute from the deck to my hand. It was the last one. I banish Fusion Substitute to return Dark Flare Knight from the graveyard to the extra deck. Draw one card. Hikaru drew it with force, the card slicing the air, trailing a violet-black streak. Wow. Tiara watched, feeling a flicker of delight for the human she supposedly didn't care about. Amazing. So this is the new era of life? Of power? For the first time, she truly found herself interested in the rituals of this new age. Hikaru looked at the card and took a deep breath. He met eyes with Professor Growler across the star prison. "Ha! Professor Banner. Take a look at my answer." He revealed his card. "Quick play spell, Scrap Fusion." "Nice one." Zane lit up with excitement. Scrap Fusion lets you fusion summon using your opponent's graveyard. "You'd use mine?" Banner tapped his book. "But..." Ches worried, "You need to know what's in your opponent's extra deck, right?" "Right, Hikaru." "Do you?" "I select Alistair the Invoker and invoked Cositus from your graveyard." Banner's eyes widened. "Don't tell me. Alchemy is destruction and recreation, refinement and transcendence. Professor Banner, you must have invoked Ogoids in your extra deck." As Hikaru shouted, his heart pounded. If Banner didn't have it, he was done. But of course, the peerless alchemist wasn't bluffing. He burst out laughing. "Even my materials and my creations? You really plan to use them all?" "This card was bought for me by Professor Growler. Using it is part of completing your assignment, Professor." "Is that okay?" "Hilarious. Absolutely delightful. Hikaru, you really are my best student." Banner revealed his extra deck. "Very well. Go, invoke Ogoids." Crack clang. Clang. A summoner appeared on Hikaru's field, then was surrounded by metal armor and mechanisms, forming a massive, robot-like invoked beast. Invoked Ogoids, level 8 Light Fairy 2000 ATK. Ogoids? Hikaru actually knew. Hikaru knows everything about fusion. Jaden shouted from his star prison. "Go, Hikaru." Ogoids' effect: when special summoned, target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. Boom! Magellanica was torn apart instantly. "Ah, that won't be enough to defeat me this turn," Banner crossed his arms. "I activate my set card, Omega Summon. This card lets me special summon a banished invoked monster." "Too bad, Hikaru." "I special summon invoked Cositus, defense position." Invoked Cositus, def. 2900. Ogoids can banish a fusion monster from the graveyard to boost its ATK, but even at 4400, it can't attack directly. So this should be your finale. Hikaru closed his eyes and took 2 deep breaths. "I activate Thunder Dragon Fusion from the graveyard, banish it to add 1 Thunder monster from the deck to hand. I choose Gem Knight Tourmaline. Ha! Then I normal summon Alistair the Invoker." "What? Wait, no way." "Sorry, Professor. I've been deceiving you this whole time." Banner was stunned, then recovered, chuckling and shaking his head. "Well played. So that's it. In this duel of wits, I lost. Hikaru, it seems I was wrong. I shouldn't have been the one to feel disappointment. You've long surpassed my expectations." Alistair's effect: I add invocation to my hand from the deck. Spell card, Invocation. I fuse Thunder Dragon and Gem Knight Tourmaline. Fusion requirement: 1 Gem Knight monster and 1 Thunder type monster. Shine before me, Gem Knight Prismora. Gem Knight Prismora, Earth Thunder 2450 ATK. Prismora's effect: I discard Gem Knight Sapphire to destroy 1 face-up card you control. This is it, Professor Banner. Destroy Aqua Spirit. Battle. Alistair attacks Alistair. Activate Flame Swords Realm, reduce Flame Swordsman's ATK by 1000, all other monsters gain 1000. Prismora attacks Cositus. And lastly, Ogoids, direct attack. Radiant lights burst forth like the sun, illuminating the massive cosmic space. When the brilliance faded, only a field of falling stars remained. Hikaru, the winner. Chapter 86, Legacy and the Key. Cough, cough, cough. Professor Banner. The simulated star slowly descended. As it faded, the students were released, and 3 Slifer Red students rushed over to Banner's side, led by Jaden Yuki, all visibly anxious. Though he had been their enemy, Banner never harmed them. Over the past 6 months, he had told them stories, played games, cooked for them, and even slipped them extra food. The three had grown truly fond of him. Especially Jaden, he had come to see Banner as a brother. And now, he could only watch helplessly as Banner's body slowly crumbled away. "Hikaru, how are you feeling?" Zane and Professor Growler rushed to Hikaru, worried. Bastion was already helping him stand. Though Bastion hadn't contributed much during the duel, aside from being frightened at the start, he had stood by Hikaru the entire time without retreating. As soon as the duel ended, he was the first to hold Hikaru up so he wouldn't collapse. "I'm fine. Just some mental exhaustion." Hikaru exhaled and looked at Tiara, who casually waved a hand and gave him a quick status read. Though the duel had been fierce, Banner hadn't gone too far in terms of raw damage. Supported by Bastion, Hikaru slowly walked over toward Banner, and the others gathered around as well. "Don't cry, Jaden." Banner smiled gently at Jaden's conflicted and pained expression. "This body was just an artificial life form I created. The real me already died during my dimensional exploration. I returned to the human world in this alchemical body to bring back what I learned and to find a successor. That's why I became your teacher." He closed his eyes and laughed softly as his body began to crumble. A spirit resembling Alistair appeared beside him, stretching out a hand to gather the golden lights emerging from Banner. "Jaden," Banner opened his eyes again, no longer fierce and scarlet, but soft and gentle. "You're far stronger than I imagined. But you're also too gentle. You haven't truly understood the terror of shadow games. The efforts of your classmates helped ease your burden, but to become a real hero, that alone isn't enough." Then he looked to the others. "Chaz, your pride fills your heart, but it hasn't helped you grow stronger. Yet you never abandoned that pride, and for that, I'm glad. Atticus, Alexis, you two have become far too complacent. Zane, your dedication to duel and honor is admirable. But duels must always have a victor." Professor Banner. Jaden's face contorted in sorrow. He was saying his final goodbyes. It was obvious. "Hikaru." "Professor? The book is yours. All my life's research and discoveries. The traces left behind from the spirits I've encountered, they're all yours now." Banner extended his hand and passed the book to Hikaru. "They're powerful and have strong personalities. Whether you earn their recognition is up to you." Hikaru accepted the book, lightly squeezing it. Then he asked, "Professor Banner, if you could create your own body, why? Why still die, right?" Banner shook his head. "Because I was too powerful." He laughed at his own words. "I know that sounds arrogant, but I've become something beyond human. This world no longer allows someone like me to live among humans." "I see." Tiara, off to the side, nodded in understanding. "So he's just like me. Just like her?" Even the Pharaoh had to return to the afterlife for eternal rest. How could I remain in the mortal world forever? Banner closed his eyes. Professor Growler. Ah! Growler stiffened, intimidated by the now foreign figure of his familiar colleague. "Please look after the kids." At this, Growler instead replied, "What are you saying? I'm the noble head of Duel Academy. The children were always mine to protect." "Then, that's good." With a final smile, Banner closed his eyes. His body and cards slowly disintegrated. Alistair gathered the fragments into a glowing orb. The students stared as Alistair took the orb and sealed it within his grimoire. He looked around at the crowd, who tensed under the gaze of such a powerful dual monster. Warriors of humanity. As per our agreement, I will now escort Banner's soul to the village of spellcasters. He carefully stored the book. Banner's soul is far stronger than any average human's. Countless malevolent beings desire it. I must personally ensure it arrives safely, lest it fall into the wrong hands and plunge your world into chaos. Everyone exchanged glances, unsure of what to say. Village of spellcasters? Evil forces slipping through to wreak havoc? They didn't understand any of it. Only Hikaru and Jaden recalled their time in the warrior's realm and realized what kind of place Alistair meant. After that, the spirit turned to Hikaru again. Nuera Alchemist, warrior of mankind. Your performance was commendable. Honestly, I could stay and help you further. But we spirits must honor our pacts and complete our missions. I must escort Banner's soul. And trials cannot be skipped. That, too, is our code. Once you've studied the knowledge in that book and found the village of spellcasters, I will return. Until then, let me give you this card, Banner's favorite. Raising his staff, Alistair drew a magic circle in the air. From it emerged a familiar giant, who transformed into a card and flew into Hikaru's hand. It was invoked Magellanica, the first of the 4 elemental invoked monsters Banner favored. Hikaru took a deep breath and pocketed the card. Suddenly, green runes lit up the sky and surrounding structures, bathing everyone in light. When Hikaru came to his senses, he was back in the Academy's forest. Around him, teachers and friends lay unconscious in the grass. Everything that had just happened was gone, like a dream. But the lingering voice in his ear reminded him it was no illusion. Within Banner's book is a key to his laboratory. If you want to conduct alchemy experiments, use that key to access the artificial dimension again. Until then, goodbye. I look forward to our next meeting. The key to the alchemy lab. He opened the book and saw the key tucked between the pages, which he carefully stored. Banner hadn't stayed behind as a spirit like in the original story. It made Hikaru a little sad. He had expected this duel wouldn't lead to such a permanent parting. In the original, Banner had watched over Jaden until the very end, even joining him on solo journeys. He had been the one who cared for and protected the protagonist the most. Clearly, the appearance of another dimension had changed the world too drastically. Still, this wasn't a complete farewell. They would meet again someday. In this world, there was no need for grief. Until then, he would study the book properly. Chapter 87, Philosopher's Stone, Sabasil. With the final Shadow Rider defeated, the key holders could finally let their guards down a little. Professor Growler was especially proud this time. The card Hikaru drew to turn the duel around, Scrap Fusion, was one Growler had personally bought. For once, he truly felt involved. A rare and fulfilling moment. What irked him, though, was that cowardly Banner had the nerve to say take care of the students right before him. How insulting. The Slifer Red students, however, were visibly downcast. Jaden didn't speak or move much for days, surprisingly subdued. Having never experienced true parting before, seeing someone he cared for vanish into nothingness in front of his eyes for the first time, it hit him hard. But this too was a kind of growth, perhaps his most important one. Even his hero spirits could barely console him. Only Winged Kuribo could bring the faintest smile to his face. The only one seemingly unaffected was Atticus, who had once again participated in a shadow game and been immediately wiped out by Banner. Still, this carefree guy just strummed his guitar and boasted that he'd now fought a true duelist, so Zay needn't worry about him. He was fine. He could even use Red Ice Black Dragon freely now with the mask. This differed from Hikaru's memory. Originally, even after breaking free of the mask's control, Atticus could only use Red Ice again by donning the mask and enduring great pain to channel darkness. But not in this world. Here, Atticus could wear the mask at will and summon Red Ice as he pleased. Darkness's fragment had completely left the mask. 3 top-tier rare cards, gained for free. Atticus was honestly grateful to Banner. If only he hadn't been punched so hard during the duel. Now free of immediate crisis, Hikaru returned to daily life with the Fusion Club, spending time reading through the Emerald Book that Banner had left behind. Truthfully, this Emerald Book should have been called the Book of Banner. Unlike in the original, where the Emerald Book symbolized universal truth and had to be found, this one had clearly been rewritten by Banner based on his personal knowledge and experience. The name remained only because he didn't bother changing it. It contained vast amounts of knowledge personally compiled and tested by Banner, even detailing how to construct a dimensional gate using alchemy. It also listed numerous interdimensional coordinates, dazzling Hikaru with the possibilities. It seemed that if he solved the book's alchemical puzzles, he could unlock and access new dimensions. If he learned how to construct gates himself, he wouldn't even need to rely on the Academy system anymore. Inside the book was also the key to the artificial dimension Banner had once pulled them into. By mastering the book, Hikaru could freely access it, a huge advantage. This was of immense value to Hikaru. Just the alchemy workshop alone, filled with real, functioning tools left by Banner, was an inestimable treasure trove. No matter how much Hikaru enhanced the tools he bought himself, they could never compare to Banner's originals. Take that massive forge alone, half the size of a classroom. There was no way he'd ever get permission to install something like that at school. Your teacher left you quite a stash, didn't he? Tiara appeared in the workshop, inspecting everything closely. She glanced at Hikaru's deck. I'd already suspected it. This dimension was artificially created by your teacher. It's an attached subspace to your school. Whenever the Academy activated its dimensional gate, he could hijack it and drag you here. We lived through that already. No need to explain. I mean, this means your spirits could come and live here through the book even outside of duels. Tiara kept her gaze on his deck. After a pause, she snapped her fingers. All right, you all come out. At her command, the first to nervously emerge was Captain Crystal. Then came Golden Eyes Idol, Undul, and Full Metalphos Alcest. The Flame Sword brothers only appeared after checking with Hikaru. The space was large, but cramming so many spirits into it still felt tight. Honestly, seeing so many spirits in one place gave Hikaru a surge of pride. Not bad at all, he mused. You've always been stuck waiting inside your cards until I summon you. Now you can actually move around here and breathe a little. These were his comrades, after all. Giving them space to roam and relax was the least he could do. This artificial dimension is vast. The stars floating in the sky might not be real, but they're still inhabitable. Tiara continued. Oh, and hey, you there, the alchemist. Stop staring at the machine. If you want to try it, ask your owner. Ah. Alcest snapped to attention, startled, then looked eagerly at Hikaru. So that was the idea. Hikaru understood Tiara's meaning. If Alcest could operate in this dimension, even crafting basic normal monster cards would be incredibly helpful. The more card sources, the better. He could even get help preparing other experiments ahead of time. Hikaru nodded to Alcest. All right, enough chatter. Come on, human. Let's search for something. Search? For what? The core. Or maybe, a card? Tiara twirled her staff in the air, head tilted as she guessed. Anyway, let's go. She gleefully darted off, and Hikaru quickly chased after her. He didn't know what had gotten into the Chaos Origin goddess, but what he knew was that he couldn't let Tiara do whatever she wanted unchecked, and that this was Banner's workshop. If she broke something, that would be disastrous. Eventually, Tiara stopped in front of a control platform. Her hand trembled as she pointed, eyes gleaming with excitement. Here it is, human. Right here. Hikaru had never seen her so thrilled, not even when she first reawakened through Winda's body. He approached and opened the compartment, eyes widening. It was a card. A green card. It read, Sabatial, the Philosopher's Stone. As he read its effect, Hikaru felt his breath grow heavy. Pay half your life points. You may exchange this card's effect with any other card you own, even those not in your deck, during a duel. Then, immediately return this card to your hand. May only be used up to 3 times across all duels. It was pure power. Absolute power. This. Hikaru stared, swallowing repeatedly. Knew it. Tiara clapped her fists together. There's no way a human, no matter how gifted, could create a subdimension like this on their own. So, human? Tiara's voice oozed temptation. Do you want to touch this power? Hikaru gulped as he extended his hand. But just before touching the card, he halted, exhaled, swallowed again, and opened his cracked lips to ask, there's more to this, right? Amaji Hikaru, you're interesting, Tiara replied, smiling cryptically. Then let me explain more. This artificial dimension is far beyond what you expected. Chapter 88, Additional Gains. The card Professor Banner created Sabatial, the Philosopher's Stone was, without exaggeration, a truly broken non-official card. Even in the original world where unofficial cards ran rampant, the Philosopher's Stone ranked as one of the top-tier broken ones. After all, it didn't even need to be activated. As long as the user willed it, it could become any card they desired and then return to hand. In canon, Jaden used this card during his battle against the Sacred Beasts. He activated its effect 3 times and ultimately relied on it to win the battle and save countless spirits. Was it powerful? Absolutely. But was it wasteful? Oh, incredibly so. When Jaden later faced Yubel, if he still had this card, the fight would have gone very differently. Of course, that's hindsight. At the time, Jaden was cornered and truly had no other option. Without the Philosopher's Stone, it was questionable whether he could have won or if the world could have even been saved. By the same logic, even though Hikaru had defeated Banner, he couldn't be sure what tricks Kajimara might still have in store in this world. Besides, the sacred beasts of the original weren't just the physical cards. Their effects and power far exceeded standard card logic. If things ever got too dire, Hikaru wouldn't hesitate to pass the card to Jaden or use it himself. Better to waste it than be defeated. That said, super polymerization would likely remain his go-to. At least that card was reusable. Even more, Hikaru considered creating or duplicating the Philosopher's Stone himself to better fit his needs. The idea of using it as a cost for super polymerization intrigued him even more, a clever workaround to its limitations. If he could produce 3 copies, not even the Sacred Beasts or Yubel would scare him. Bring it on, Yubel. Bring on 1,000 Kajimaras. However, Tiara seemed to have a different perspective. When she saw Hikaru resist the urge to touch the card, she smiled and folded her arms. Honestly? Even I'm surprised. Tilting her head, she continued, this artificial dimension was likely created by your teacher using the Philosopher's Stone as its base. Even if you take the card, the dimension might still exist. But it would start to shrink and eventually collapse. Only the workshop area would remain. But that's not the important part. The real issue is that your teacher built this dimension to use energy circulation to amplify card power. She tapped her chin thoughtfully. I suspect he intended for the stone to endlessly sustain the dimension and protect it from outside interference. But because of this structure, you have other ways to use it. Other ways? The Philosopher's Stone's core purposes were gold transmutation and immortality. Tiara gently twirled her finger. Though I doubt you'd use it to make gold. That alchemist over there might be interested, but I wouldn't allow that. That was true. Besides, Alcest was a prideful alchemist. It might accept creating gold from other materials, but only if it transmuted them. Then there's nourishment. Tiara folded her arms. Your teacher lived as long as he did thanks to the stone's power. But this benefit isn't limited to humans. It can also apply to spirits and even to cards themselves. She looked at the 2 sword-wielding spirits always following Hikaru, her smile curving slightly. Your 2 retainers have already begun evolving. They might become cards the world has never seen. But to grow that far will take a great deal of battle experience and tempering. Even the duel with your teacher only gave them a small boost. Wait, really? Hikaru looked at his swordsman. They exchanged glances, inspecting themselves carefully, and finally noticed subtle changes to their blades and armor. You'd never notice without close inspection. They looked at Tiara. Even they hadn't realized it. How did she? Because I'm a god, Tiara replied nonchalantly. This isn't a detail. This is a flaw I noticed the moment I opened my eyes. Such is the weakness of carbon-based life, unable to self-analyze. Pathetic. The 2 spirits stood frozen, awkward and unsure how to respond. On the side, Hikaru furrowed his brow and asked cautiously, then in this place, are you? Yes. You guessed correctly, Tiara said, scanning the room. In this artificial dimension, I can feel my power slowly recovering, at an almost imperceptible rate. Still, it's returning. Hikaru stiffened. If just being here let her recover strength, what if she had the full Philosopher's Stone? Even if she couldn't revive fully, she might reach immense power again. Was she planning to act now? Hikaru tensed, ready to defend the card. Even if he never used it, it was Professor Banner's legacy. He wouldn't let anyone else have it. Tiara, however, calmly raised her staff. So, as thanks for teaching me to duel and letting me witness such a fascinating ritual, I'll use this restored power to help you craft a card. Ha! Seeing Hikaru dazed, Tiara tilted her head in confusion and playful sarcasm. Her head literally twisted with a click, flopping sideways. What, you thought I'd try to steal it? Hikaru, I am a god. I honor my deals. Though the subtext was clear, had there been no deal, she'd have no problem backstabbing him. But as a divine being, she had her own pride and dignity. Materials: a level 2 monster, a dark monster, a fiend, a fairy, a machine, a winged beast, a wind monster. Normal or effect doesn't matter. Also, I need a bird feather, a gemstone, preferably purple or black. If you can't find those, shove that white crystal into the pot. You figure out the rest. Typical card crafting stuff. Got it. Hikaru blinked, then rushed off to prepare. Only now did he realize, when Tiara first told him about the stone, she wasn't being kind. If he hadn't resisted temptation, she might really have betrayed him. Only when she confirmed he had respect without greed did she abandon the thought. A god who loathed living beings, you couldn't trust her smile. Focused again, Hikaru returned to the human world. After 3 to 4 days of material hunting, he and his spirits came back to the workshop to begin crafting. Nearly a week later, he opened the furnace and pulled out a new card. Successful! A flash of excitement lit his face. It was a Shaddol main deck monster, Shaddol Falco. An unexpected bonus. He pumped his fist. Hikaru never imagined he'd get a Shaddol monster so soon, so now, all his Shaddol fusion cards would finally come into play. Chapter 89, Shocking News in the New Semester. How could this be? In a dimly lit room, a bright light shone on a lone figure. A synthetic voice echoed slowly from the speakers. Amnel actually failed? The voice was old and frail, barely carrying a trace of vitality, manipulating machinery with trembling hands. How is that possible? Obviously, he underestimated Growler and the others. A bald man sat facing him directly, expressionless, hands clasped, and spoke calmly. Leo Akaba was in the middle of a private meeting. Underestimated them, the elderly voice was still full of doubt. How could there be anyone stronger than Amnel? He knew Banner far too well. He had personally witnessed Banner's return from the dead, even learning the sacred beast's revival methods from him as repayment. It was hard to believe Banner could lose. He let his guard down and wasn't prepared. Losing wasn't impossible, Akaba still insisted. After repeatedly being obstructed by Growler, he now viewed him with extreme suspicion. He had never seen Amnel's duel, so he didn't know what had transpired. But if Amnel lost, Growler had to be involved. In a way, Akaba was right. Hikaru's victory hinged entirely on the scrap fusion Professor Growler had purchased. Akaba didn't dwell too much on the point. Instead, he furrowed his brow, anxiety mounting like a pledge of loyalty. Chairman, this means you won't be able to collect all the keys now. Should I prepare a new team to seize the cards? I still have strong duelists in my secret division. That won't be necessary. From within a life support pod, sustained by nutrient fluids and science alone, Kajimaro slowly spoke. You're mistaken about something, Dr. Akaba. Our goal was never to take the keys. It was to force the key holders into 100% all-out shadow duels. Bubbles escaped his mouth as he continued. Amnel was a peerless genius. He designed the perfect youth restoration ritual. Even without confirmation that all the key holders had gone all out, he challenged nearly all of them. All the keys were lit. That is enough. He admired his past self for having the foresight to invest in Banner. If he had been a moment too late when Kybercorp called for experts, he would have missed the chance to recruit someone of Banner's caliber. Even if Banner hadn't served him wholeheartedly, what did it matter? What mattered was talent. Just like Dr. Akaba. As long as they were talented, he would respect them. Now, all that remains is to duel Jaden Yuki, who possesses the strongest spirit power. That will awaken the sacred beasts, restore my youth, and through Banner's ritual, grant me immortality. I will rule the world. He shouted until he coughed, more bubbles escaping the pod. Initially, Banner had advised him to use an alchemical artificial body. It wouldn't be true youth, but it would extend his life by decades. That would have been enough. But after encountering Banner, learning of alternate dimensions, and obtaining the sacred beasts, how could he settle for less? He wanted the best, to be the strongest, and eternal life. So that means, the sealed sacred beast cards are ready to be retrieved now? Not quite yet. I still need to duel Jaden Yuki, the one with the strongest spirit power, to fully awaken them. On the verge of immortality, Kajimaro couldn't stop rambling, assisted by machines. Once awakened, they can release energy to absorb power from all dual spirit cards in the world. With that, I will instantly regain youth and become the strongest duelist ruler of. So you can already use the sacred beasts to influence and control spirits, correct? Question mark. Kajimaro faltered, trying to explain, and no, that wouldn't be enough to completely revive them. Absorbing all dual spirits worldwide, that's too conspicuous, Akaba said quietly. I prefer using cards and humans to gather power in the shadows. Dr. Akaba? Kajimaro finally reacted, startled. Thank you, Chairman. These years working with you have been enjoyable. For once, Akaba wore a faint smile. Now then. Goodbye. With that, Leo Akaba turned, cape fluttering behind him, and walked away, leaving only a cold, merciless silhouette. What? Akaba. Kajimaro heard mechanical clicks and gurgling liquid. He was now too old to see, to hear, surviving only through machines. And now, he felt warmth draining rapidly from his body. At last, he realized. He had been betrayed. Dr. Akaba, Leo Akaba aka VA. The smooth mechanical voice gradually faded into darkness. Rejuvenation? Eternal youth? Immortality? World domination? Foolish. Your ambition was far too small. Leo Akaba pulled open the curtains, narrowed his eyes toward the horizon. His ambition was farther and beyond, in every dimension. Time passed. A new semester began. Ever since Banner made his move, the academy had settled into an eerie calm. Hikaru found it strange that up until the first day of school, nothing odd had happened, no rogue spirits flying across the sky. Where was Kajimaro? Didn't he want to reclaim his youth? Confused, Hikaru passed a peaceful, fulfilling break. But on the opening day, Principal Shepard delivered a tragic announcement with a somber expression. The Academy's chairman, the centenarian Kajimaro, had peacefully passed away during the break due to complications with his life support machinery. As chairman, he had secured many benefits from Kybercorp for the school. Last semester's opportunity to participate in the interdimensional exchange tournament was thanks to his efforts. He loved the academy, respected education, and cared deeply for the students. Hikaru tuned out the rest. He had only one thought. Kajimaru's dead. Who was going to use the sacred beasts now? Who was supposed to be the final boss of GX's Phase 1? Could it be Banner was this world's true Phase 1 final boss? That would explain why Jaden lost to him so believably. Wait. Another thought struck him. Does that mean he doesn't have to use the Philosopher's Stone at this awkward time? Great, fantastic, no. Wait, that's wrong. Hikaru quickly stopped himself. Just because Kajimaro hadn't made a move yet didn't mean he was innocent. Still, not needing to burn the stone at this delicate time, that was a relief for both Hikaru and Jaden. Meanwhile, Principal Shepard reached the final part of his speech. Lastly, with grief but also with gratitude, because of Chairman Kajamaru's years of service and excellence, Kaiba Corp has decided to host the most magnificent commemorative event this semester. The grand prize will be a replica card of a legendary monster. Shepard himself was visibly excited. It is said to be a monster used by none other than Yugi Muto when facing the Egyptian gods. Whoa! No way! Chairman, no disrespect, but this is the best thing you've ever done. Do I really have a shot at owning a legendary monster? This academy is totally worth it. The students erupted with joy. A legendary monster once used against the gods, linked to the king of games himself, who wouldn't be thrilled? After the eventful past semester, the school year now started with yet another major competition. How could they not be excited? Hikaru, meanwhile, rubbed his chin, thoughtful. A card used to fight the gods? That range is huge. It could be Dark Paladin, Magician of Black Chaos, Black Luster Soldier, Buster Blader. Shepard's phrasing was way too vague, even to him, who Hikaru couldn't remember every detail, just the most iconic cards. But that didn't matter. Yugi's deck was full of fusion-related cards anyway. Almost every monster had a fusion form. This was an event worth joining. Chapter 90, Detective Chaz. On the first day of the new term, just after classes ended and sign-ups for the tournament began, Chaz approached Hikaru. There's something I want to talk about with you. What is it? Hikaru assumed it was a challenge. You're entering the tournament too? No. Chaz shook his head. Of course, I want Mr. Yugi's card, but if I actually joined, I think my master would be pretty upset. Hikaru personally thought Seto Kaiba wouldn't care about something so petty. It's something else I need to talk to you about. Now that was odd. What could Chaz possibly want to discuss with him? Was this like the original, where Chaz had a crush on Alexis Rhodes and needed his advice? In the original, that did end up leading to the Egyptian god's reappearance, but that couldn't be it, right? If anything, he'd go to Atticus for that. It's about Chairman Kajamaru. Chaz hesitated, arms folded, voice low. Chairman Kajamaru. Hikaru's eyes briefly widened before he composed himself and feigned ignorance. Chaz, why bring him up? He's already passed. What could still be unresolved? Chaz nodded, uncertain but serious. I once saw him at Kaiba Corp, well, not in person. I had a video meeting with him over the network. I see. He was absolutely terrified of death. My master has a terrible opinion of him, says he's worse than worthless. Every so often, his life support system would get swapped out by his company's robots. The entire process was fully automated. Logically, a mechanical failure shouldn't have been possible. Based on the reports I've reviewed, even if there was a failure, he still should have survived at least another month. Chaz. Hikaru blinked, surprised. You're saying, the chairman didn't die of natural causes? Chaz nodded emphatically. I suspect someone behind the Shadow Riders did it. He raised his hand and continued, remember what Professor Banner said? Someone was funding his research. That means at least one person knew what he was doing. Banner becoming a Shadow Rider couldn't have been unrelated. And Banner also said this world is filled with arrogant fools trying to exploit other dimensions, like Professor Leo Akaba? Chaz, you're a genius detective. Hikaru stared at him in awe. No wonder they called him Detective Chaz. Hikaru already knew about Leo Akaba and Kajamaru. So for him, this wasn't too surprising. He remembered clearly that Kajamaru was still alive even in the original series finale. The man could really cling to life. So once the shock of his death wore off, Hikaru started to suspect Leo Akaba might be involved. But Chaz? He deduced all this just from past details and observation. I suspect Professor Akaba might be the one behind Banner, Chaz said gravely. If that's the case, everything he did in the Polymerization Club would make sense. Though Hikaru's understanding of the timeline was different, Chaz had already reasoned to an impressive degree. You never fail to amaze, Chaz. So you weren't surprised, Chaz said, relieved. That confirms it. You suspected Professor Akaba all along, didn't you? That's why you formed the new Fusion Club and had Cyrus transfer to the Polymerization Club. Hikaru did think Leo Akaba was likely responsible for Chairman Kajimura's death. Given his scheming nature in the original, secretly taking out a dying man would be entirely within character. But Hikaru had no knowledge of any connection between Kajimura and Leo Akaba. All he knew about Akaba in this world was that he had once modified the dimensional gate system and earned recognition from Kaiba Corp. Chaz, I have my doubts too, but I don't have a shred of proof. That was Hikaru's dilemma. He had told Growler about the attack on him in Neo Domino City. Growler even reported it to Kaiba Corp. But super polymerization had erased every trace, to the point Kaiba Corp couldn't investigate a thing. And the dimension where the parasite lab was hidden, Selena didn't know its location. After all, she was a prisoner, not a gatekeeper. I came to you because I needed someone I could trust and talk this through with, Chaz said seriously. If you thought it was nonsense, I might have dropped it. But since you suspect Leo Akaba too, I'll call my master myself. Ask him to investigate Akaba's connections. He feared Seto Kaiba deeply. In aura, ability, and wealth, Kaiba was like a max version of himself. Training under such a person only intensified that fear. Kaiba's words weren't exactly gentle. His physique didn't even seem human, as he once lifted Chaz with one hand to duel an AI. Without support, Chaz would never dare bother Kaiba with a hunch. I see. Hikaru wanted to keep discussing, but a teacher's voice rang out from outside. Amaji Hikaru, please report to the duel field. It's your match. Coming. Hikaru shouted, then turned to Chaz. Chaz, don't tell Jaden or the others yet. I know. That's why I came only to you. I didn't want to worry them unnecessarily. After all, this might still involve Professor Banner. Hikaru couldn't help but admire him. Chaz, trained by Kaiba, was turning out to be incredibly reliable. Maybe Hikaru could eventually share more of what he knew with him, then they could work things out together. And in fact, Chaz had reminded him of something important. Back in canon, most of the academy students were sidelined by the later arcs. But they had potential. Chaz's deductive skills, Bastion's computational ability, these were talents that mattered outside of dueling. One shouldn't treat them like ordinary students. They all had their own value. For now, Hikaru hurried to the duel field, where his next opponent waited. A student from RA Yellow with a bizarre hairstyle. Speak of the devil, someone with a special talent. That is Dimitri, wasn't it? Dimitri, the copycat duelist. That wraps up this part of What If Fusion Deck User in a Different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.